All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. Of course, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what's coming at you. And I'm gonna start this day off Monday, January 2nd. Man, we're gonna talk about one men's game that I want you to take a look at tonight, and one women's game I think you should take a look at tonight. This is the first conference game of the season, so not a lot of conference data to be had, but just going off of what these teams have done so far, I think that these should be the games to look at. Both games feature the men's and women's conference tournament champs, and also the overall women's regular season champ. So these are the two teams who made it into March, and they're taking on two rivals. So what better way to start off the week of action with these two games? So the first game we're going to talk about is Jackson State Lady Tigers going to the Alcorn State Lady Braves. That game tips off this afternoon at 2 o'clock. So by the time you see this, this game will have been played or close to being played. So you can definitely check this out at when it comes out. And this game is at 2 o'clock. It's at Alcorn. So make sure you check it out on the JSU Sports Network, radio 1300 AM. 103.5 FM. So check that game out. Should be a very entertaining game. Jackson State comes into this game at 3-7. Just to run through their non-conference schedule real quick, they lost to North Carolina 91-59. They lost to Colorado 77-53. They beat Texas Tech 69-63. They beat ULL 70-41. They lost to UCLA 72-60. They lost to Oregon State 63-53. They lost to Missouri 74-61. And they lost to Texas 75-58. They lost to Washington State 83-56. And they beat Southeastern Louisiana 60-51. So they come into this game on a one-game winning streak, sitting at 3-7. In pretty good shape for conference play. Statistically, this team is still pretty much just what they were before. They're averaging about 59 points per game. They're giving up 69, so that's a scoring margin of -9 on the season. They're 212 of 585 from the field for 36%, averaging 21.5 field goals per game. The opponents are 256 of 622. They're shooting 41% from the field and an average of 25.6 field goals per game. From the three-point line, they're shooting 30%. 42 of 138, averaging about 4.2 three-pointers per game. The opponents average about 6.2 threes per game, and they're shooting 30.5%, 62 of 203. From the line, they're 133 of 187 for 71%, averaging about 13 free throws per game. The opponents average 11.6 free throws per game. 116 of 171 for 67%. Rebounds, they have 366 total rebounds, averaging 36.6 rebounds per game. They're allowing 379 total rebounds, 37.9 rebounds per game, an average margin of -1.3. So they're barely getting out rebounded in these games. And when you look at the fact that they play so many power conference games, that definitely shows that this team will be a rebounding factor in the conference. Turnovers, they're averaging 16.6 turnovers per game, 166 total. They're forcing 141 turnovers. That's 14.1 per game. That's a margin of -2.5. They have an assist to turnover ratio of 0.6. They're averaging 11, almost 11.5 points off of turnovers. The opponents 14 even. They total steals is 61. They average 6.1 steals per game. They're allowing 99, which is 9.9 per game. They have 30 total blocks on the season, which is 3 per game. The opponent's 38, 3.8. So you can see this team is going to be still going to be a tough team to reckon with in conference play. Statistically, with those numbers, even in non-conference play, they still are looking pretty good. Their rotation is fairly deep. They go about they have like nine ladies that average double digit minutes. So they play pretty deep. Their top four are over 21 minutes apiece. They have five people average over 21 minutes per game. So they do get a lot of minutes out of their starters. The leading shooter from the field is Daphne White. She's shooting 56% from the field. Haley Breland is shooting 50%. Jelaya Hickman, 45. Deja Woodard, 43. Telon Bowler is shooting 42% from the field. Bowler is the leading three-point shooter. She's shooting 43%, 10 of 23. Liz Martino leads the team with 21 threes made. She's attempted 61. She's shooting 34% from the three-point line. Their leading free throw shooter is Bowler. She's 18 of 19 for 94%. Jariah Covington, 18 of 22 for 81%. Deja Woodard, 12 of 15 for 80%. Angel Jackson, 19 of 24 for 79%. So they have some ladies that can really take advantage of that free throw line. So, you have to be careful in late game situations. If you foul this team, they are most likely going to convert those free throws. The leading scorer on the season is Telon Bowler. She's the only scorer in double digits with 11.2 points per game. Martino is at 9.5. Jackson, 8.3. Covington, 7.4. White, 6.1. And Woodard at 6. So, this is a team that is pretty balanced in scoring. The one double-digit person is only a couple points ahead of everybody else. So, that's a mark of a team that, they don't necessarily have that one person that can just go off all the time, but they can be a dangerous team because it's hard to shut down anybody. The leading rebounder on the season right now is Angel Jackson. She averages 6.3 rebounds per game. Woodard, 6.2. Bowler, 4.6. White, 3.4. Covington, 2.9. Martino, 2.3. Leading assist is Covington with 30. Luckett with 28. Steals leader is Martino with 17. And Jackson has 10 blocks to lead the team. So this is, like I said, this team, I think, I don't know if they're going to run through the league like they did last season, but they do have some nice non-conference wins under their belt. So they are battle-tested. They're going to be a tough team to beat. Alcorn is a team that did not have a good season last season. So they are playing a lot better right now. They're 4-7 coming into this game. So they should present a bit of a challenge to Jackson State. They got swept by Jackson State last season. So that's a situation where, they really need to pick up a victory in this series. Jackson State leads the all-time series 59-43, so they've been pretty much dominating this series. Alcorn last won a game in this series in 2016, so it's been a while. And the last time Alcorn swept Jackson State in a single game series is 2016 as well. So they have not had a lot of success against Jackson State, so they need to get off on a good foot if they want to put that bad season in conference play behind them. They played Tulsa to open the season. They lost that game 82-33. They lost to Wichita State 67-53. They lost to Illinois 90-59. They beat Arkansas Baptist 100-51. They beat New Orleans 65-56. They lost Louisiana Tech 70-59. They beat Central Arkansas 45-41. They beat Tougaloo 88-48. They lost to Colorado 82-47. They lost to ULM 69-65. And they lost to UAB 70-56. So they've had some games where, the margin was pretty big, but then they also had a couple games that they were in. They do have a couple of D1 wins, which also is, it helps you a lot. They're averaging 65.1. They're shooting 35% from the field, 237 of 664. They're averaging 21.5 field goals per game. The opponents are shooting 33%, 23 of 615. They're also averaging 21.5 field goals per game. The three-point line has not been kind to Alcorn. They're shooting 26% from the line, 56 of 21. They're averaging 5.1 threes per game. The opponents are shooting 29%, 69 to 20, 231, 6.3 threes per game. From the free throw line, Alcorn shooting 60%, 140 of 232, shooting 12.7 free throws per game. The opponents are shooting 66%, 185 of 278, 16.8 free throws per game. Alcorn averages 35.7 rebounds per game. The opponents average 40.8, which is a margin of minus 5.1. So they're getting rebounded pretty decently. I rebounded pretty decently in the off season in our conference. So that's something that definitely gonna have to improve on during this game, which would be a tough matchup on the boards for them. Turnovers, they're turning the ball over, average of 17.3 times per game, but they're forcing 19.4 turnovers per game, which gives them a margin of positive 2.1. So they're doing a good job of forcing turnovers, but they're a little sloppy with the basketball themselves. So that's something that they're going to have to clean up in conference play. Their assist turnover ratio is 0.8. They average 17.5 points off of turnovers. The opponent 17.1. They have an average of 9.5 steals per game. The opponent's 8.4. They average 3.8 blocks per game, and the opponent's 2.8. Some of the individual leaders, as far as minutes go, they are a team that has quite a few people that average double-digit minutes. They have 11 players with at least 14 minutes per game, so they have a rotation that they go through pretty solidly. Nobody gets heavy minutes. Their top minutes getter is 21.6 minutes per game, so they have a rotation that they use quite often, and all those players, except for one, has played in all 11 games this season. So they have a solid 10-person rotation that they use consistently. So their team is going to throw a lot of bodies at you and see what they can get done. Right now, the leading shooter is Destiny Brown. She's shooting 55% from the field. Kiara Henderson is at 45%. Ford is, 46.7%. Ford 46.2%. Reed 44%. The leading three-point shooter is Nia McAlfia. She's shooting 31% from the field, 14 of 44. The leading three-point shooter in terms of threes made is Anaya White. She has 27 threes made, and she's attempted 83. To Najee Wright, she has 87 threes attempted, and she's made 26. So they're shooting 29% and 32% respectively from the field. Those are their two big shooters. In terms of oh, excuse me, I'm looking at field goals. I'm sorry. Let me get myself on track. They're leading, like I said, McAlfee is shooting 39% from three. Backus is shooting 30% from three. Their leading three-point shooter in terms of attempts is Wright at 51. She's 13 of 51 for 29%. So she shoots a lot of threes. She hasn't made a lot. Griffin is 7 of 41, 17%. So they will put up a lot of threes. They haven't made a lot from the free throw line in terms of somebody with multiple attempts. Abilio is 14 or 18 for 77% to lead the team in terms of somebody with multiple attempts. The leading scorer is Brown at 1.9 points per game, Wright 8.7, White 6.5, Cheatham 6.3, and Henderson at 5.1. And again, they have quite a few people that average at least 4 points per game. So this is a team that does throw numbers at you. They're gonna throw a lot of bodies at you and see what they can get done. They haven't been the most productive team, but they found a way to win a couple games here and now. The leading rebounder is Brown at 5.9 rebounds per game. Henderson at 5.5. Cheatham 4.8. Ford 3.2. White 3.1. The leading assist is Wright with 26. Also, Abilio with 26. Blocks, the leading blocker is Brown with 21. Steals is Abilio with 14 and McAlfee with 14 as well. Wright with 11, White with 11, Brown with 10, Henderson with 10, and Watkins with 10. So they have quite a few players that get their hands on the basketball. So they, like I said, they do force a lot of turnovers. They get a lot of steals. So that's going to be important for them in this game, is to get pressure on Jackson State when they have the ball. You don't want to let a team like that get established in the half court because they're going to use their size on you. And if they can dictate the pace of that game, you're going to find yourself in a bad way. So for Alcorn, they're going to have to not turn the ball over. They have to make shots. If they're going to shoot a lot of shots, they're going to have to make a good bit of threes if they're going to shoot that many in a game against Jackson State. Because if you don't make those shots, they will have the rebounding advantage in this game, and they will win this game. I think Jackson State will win this game. I think Alcorn can test them early. This is a good early season game for both teams. It gives both teams a chance to figure out where they are, especially Alcorn. It's going to be important for them to kind of find out who they are in conference, and what better way than to match up with the best team in the league. So I think Jackson State will win this game. I think Alcorn going to keep it close for a while, but I think the Tigers will pull this one out. Speaking of our next game, which I didn't make my banner for, so I just throw this up. Jackson Southern and Texas Southern hook up in Houston. These two teams are obviously two teams that know each other very, very well. Southern was able to get their first sweep over Texas Southern since like 2006. Texas Southern ultimately will win the SWAC championship in the tournament, which is, the ultimate prize. The Tigers are a team that always know how to win in March. They are still going to be dangerous. Southern's been a team that's been shooting the ball well. Defensively, they play well, but they do go through lows at times. I think Southern doesn't have the size necessary to consistently compete in conference, but we'll see, if they can get that play out of their inside guys in a game like this. Southern is coming into this game at 4-9. They are on a full game losing streak, but they have had a couple of those games that they had a chance in. A couple bad second halves really did them in a couple of those games. But they, that's been their downfall. They opened up their season losing to UNLV 66-56. They lost to Arizona 95-78. They lost to St. Mary's 72-54. They beat Cal 74-66. They beat Loyola, Maryland 76-58. They lost to University of Nebraska Omaha 88-78. They beat Champion Christian 112-52. They lost Louisiana Tech 74-59. They beat LSU Alexandria 98-76. They lost to Xavier 79-59. They lost to Youngstown State 85-81. They lost to UAB 92-66. And they lost to Southeastern 80-62. So, like I said, a couple of those games, they were either leading at half or close at half, and the second half really just did them in. So it's going to be important for Southern to play 2 full halves of basketball. This team is averaging 73 points per game. They're allowing 75.6, which is a margin of minus 2.3. So even in those non-conference matchups, the scoring difference is not that great. Southern shooting 43% from the field. They average 26.9 field goals made. The opponents are shooting 45%. They average 24.5 field goals made. Southern shooting 34% from three. They average 8.3 threes per game. The opponents are shooting 32%, 7.7 threes per game. They're shooting 68% from the line. They average 11.2 free throws per game. The opponents are shooting 18.8 free throws per game, and they're shooting 72%. Southern is averaging 31.3 rebounds per game. They're allowing 38 even, which is a margin of minus 6.7. Like I said, they kind of do get a mismatch inside with size, so they don't really rebound that well. Although they have had a couple of games where they have been solid on the boards. They average 15.5 assists per game. The opponents 16.5 turnovers. They average 15.5 turnovers per game. They force 18.9, which is a margin of 3.4. So they do a great job of forcing turnovers. like I said, at times they do get sloppy with the basketball, which is what gets them in trouble in late game situations. Steals, they average 9.6 steals per game, the opponent 6.8. They average 2 blocks per game, and opponents average 3.8. Again, that shows that size difference between Southern and their opponents. In terms of minutes, Southern has a pretty established rotation. They're pretty deep. They have played, a bunch of guys with at least 10 minutes. They have 13 guys with at least 10 minutes, and all of those guys, except for maybe 2 or 3, have played in multiple games, at least in the bulk of the game. So if you take out the 3 guys, they have like 10 guys that they play regularly. They average at least 10 minutes per game. The leading shooter from the field is P.J. Bird. He's shooting 58%. Reynolds, 52%. Umdamaya, 52%. Watkins, 51%. Gardner, 50%. From 3, Bird is shooting 47% from 3, 9 of 19. Gardner, 4 of 26. Etienne shooting 38%, 25 of 65. He's probably the guy who takes the next. He's made the second most threes and attempted the second most threes. Breon Whitley is shooting 28 of 83 for 33%. He's the guy who definitely is going to be the main shooter for Southern. He's a streaky guy, but if he can get hot, he can make quite a few threes. Tyrone Lyons is another guy who hasn't shot the ball well this season, but he's capable of doing the job. He was Southern's leading scorer last season. From the line, Wilkins is shooting 90%. Bird is shooting 81%. Whitley, 73%. The leading scorer right now is Etienne at 12.1 points per game. Whitley, 10.5. Lyons, 9. Bird, 8.9. Ewing at 8. He's only played a couple of games. He's been out most of the season. Allen, 6.2. Williams, 6.2. Reynolds 5.8. So again, this is another one of those teams that are pretty balanced. Any given night, anybody can be the one to score the points. Williams is leading the team with 3.8 rebounds. Etienne 3.3. Lyons 3.1. Bird 3 rebounds per game. Bird leads the team with 67 assists. Etienne at 29. Bird also leads the team with 36 turnovers, and Etienne leads the team with 20 steals. Whitley has 17, and Whitley leads the team with 5 blocks. So, this team is pretty much guard dominated. They can play small, a nice small lineup, and get the tempo up. But if a team can dominate inside with size, then they're going to have a tougher time unless they can dictate their pace and tempo. Excuse me. So moving on to Texas Southern, this team, is again one of those favorites in the league, man. They're a team that you probably can expect to see in the tournament championship and even winning the regular season and the conference tournament. So, I always caution, look out for Texas Southern regardless of what their record is coming into the season, because they just know how to play in March. They opened up their season losing to San Francisco 90-77. They lost to Texas Tech 78-54. They beat Arizona State 67-66. They lost to Oral Roberts 82-64. They lost to Houston 83-48. They lost to Auburn 72-56. They lost to Samford 78-63. They lost to Kansas 87-55. They beat North American 95-47. They lost to A&T 66-67. They beat Hampton 82-77. They lost to Wichita State 65-56. They beat Houston Tilliston 92-54, and that brings them into this game at 4-9 on the season. Statistically, they're averaging 67 points per game. They're giving up 72.8. That's a margin of -5.5. They're shooting 40% from the field. They average 28.1 shots per game, field goals per game. The opponents are shooting 43%, 26.4 field goals per game. They're shooting 28% from three. They average 4.7 threes per game. So that's the difference between these two teams. Southern shoots a lot of threes. Texas Southern doesn't shoot as many. The opponents are shooting 32%. They are averaging 7.7 threes per game. They shoot 61% from the line, 10.5 free throws per game. The opponents 72% from the line, 12.3 free throws per game. They average 38.6 rebounds per game. The opponents 38.6 rebounds per game. The opponents 37.9, which is a margin of 0.7. So Texas Southern does have the advantage in this game on the boards. So that's definitely that's going to be their advantage, is to control the boards and force Southern to take bad shots. Turnovers, Texas Southern averages 13.5 turnovers per game. They force 14.2. So they are a team that doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot, but they don't really force a lot of turnovers. So, if Southern gonna win, they have to get Texas Southern to turn the ball over to get the tempo up and run, because they're gonna have to run. Can't let Texas Southern get established inside. Let's see. There's a margin of 0.7 in turnovers. Assisted turnover ratio 0.9. They average 14.8 points over turnovers. The opponent's 13.9. They average 6.7 steals per game. The opponent's 7.3. They average 3.5 blocks per game. The opponent's 3.9. Again, that's a good advantage for Texas Southern to take advantage of their prowess inside over Southern. This team is not as they haven't played a lot of guys this season, honestly. They've only played 12 guys all season, and the bulk of those guys have started. Everybody but two guys have started at least one game. So they, just like last season, they had a mix and match rotation of guys. They play a lot of different guys. They can they have that big time ballers, but they still have guys off the bench that can come in and that they can count on. So they have quite a few guys that have started at least 5 games. So you have that rotation of guys. In terms of minutes, it's pretty even. They do have Barnes and Walker, who average 31 minutes a game. Henry also averages 28. So Gilliam averages 26. Nicholas 25. So they get a lot of minutes out of their key guys, but they do play everybody. Everybody that's played as averages at least 9 minutes per game. So if you're on that team, you're gonna get time on the court. So it's valuable for them to have everybody be productive when they're on the court, because they play everybody that they pretty much dress. The leading shooter in terms of field goals is Nicholas. He's shooting 51% from the field. Barnes is shooting 50%. Farouk 50%. So they can score inside, man. Nicholas is a guy who's one of those Swiss Army knife type of dudes, man. He's a grinder. He can, if you let him get the work inside, he's gonna hurt you. He can put up a double pretty easily. So it's important for you to control him during a game. Barnes is also shooting 42% from the 3-point line, so he's a guy who can get it done inside and out. Farouk shooting 36%. Henry shooting 33%. He's 20 of 59. He has the most threes made and the most threes attempted. Barnes and Henry are the only two guys with double-digit threes, but Walker can shoot the three. He hasn't been as hot this season. But Gilliam is another guy that can shoot, but they haven't really shot the ball well as a team this season, but they do have guys who can make those shots. Free throws, O'Neal, 11 of 14 for 79%. Of course, that's Shaq's son, Shaquille O'Neal, so he's been playing a lot this season. Barnes is shooting 29 of 37 from the field for 78%. Henry 17 of 23 for 73%. Gardner 10 of 18 for 62%. Walker 25 of 45 for 55%. Scoring, Barnes leads the team with 14.6. You have Nicholas with 11.9. You have Walker with 11.4. You have Henry with 10.4. So this season they have 4 guys that average double-digit points at this point. Last season, they didn't have a lot of guys average double digits, but they had a lot of guys that scored points, and that's still the case here. But they do have those guys that they know that can get points for them, and those guys are all capable of putting the ball in the basket. The leading rebounder is Nicholas. He's averaging 9.1 rebounds a game. Like I said, he always has the potential for a double-double, averaging double-digit points and almost double-digit rebounds. So you have to keep him off the boards. He's a matchup problem. He's one of those guys who is a high energy guy. He's definitely gonna, put in a lot of work and make you work. And sometimes he's gonna get under your skin a little bit too. So you're gonna have to stay focused. He leads the team by almost 5 rebounds. Barnes at 4.3, Walker at 4.3. Assists. Henry leads the team with 27 assists. Barnes with 20. Turnovers. Barnes leads the team with 33 turnovers. Henry leads the team with 16 steals. Mortal with 16 steals as well. Blocks. Walker at 14. Nicholas at 12. So Walker, those are guys who can, they can play defense. They can fill it up. They can rebound. This team is tough. This is going to be a tough matchup. I think Southern was able to escape out of Houston last year with a game. And they honestly stole one from Texas Southern in Baton Rouge. This is going to be a tough matchup, man. Southern is capable in this game, but those lulls they go through at times, they kind of worry me. I think Texas Southern is definitely going to want to get on a good track to start the season. Last season, I think they started on like 0-3 or 0-2. It didn't really matter because they rebounded at the end, but I think they're going to want to get off to a good start. And I think they're gonna stick. I think they're gonna win this game. I think Southern's gonna be in the game, but I think TSU will win this game. It should be an exciting game. When these two teams match up, it's always high energy. It's always a game where there's emotions. So I can expect a little bit of that because both teams want to get off to a good start. A good start can springboard you to a good first half of the season. So it's important for both teams to win this game, but I think TSU will win this game and get themselves off to a 1-0 start. So that's going to do it for today's show. Like I jumped right into it, didn't do it. None of my intro, but man, check out the socials. Facebook is SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76, Instagram SWAC Talk. Man, we over 800, man. Thank y'all, man. I appreciate y'all for getting me over 800 subscriptions. Let's get to 9, man. So everybody tell somebody to tell somebody, man. If you subscribed already, thank you. If you haven't, man, go ahead and hit that subscription button and get on board, man. We got a lot of stuff going on. I'll probably drop another video tomorrow recapping today's games, and I'll probably drop a video on Wednesday to preview 2 games for Wednesday's action. And I'll be on vacation after that, so no SWAC smoke on Thursday. No videos probably till I get back on maybe next Wednesday. So, y'all gonna have like a week break from SWAC Talk, but I'll be back in full force after my vacation. So y'all stay tuned to me, keep it locked in, and I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.